Welcome to Demo Day, where young innovators take the stage and showcase real-world projects to a global audience. At WEquil School, students learn to become innovators, teaching each other each week through their creations. WEquil App has thousands of novel and useful projects born out of our students' strengths, interests, and passions. But Demo Day is more than just a presentation. It's a celebration of innovation, collaboration, and the power of young minds. Join us on this incredible journey of inspiration as we witness the next generation of problem solvers and leaders. From Harvard professors to industry experts, our demo days attract incredible guest speakers who share their knowledge and ignite curiosity. Whether you're a young innovator looking to showcase your creations or a family seeking an extraordinary learning experience, Demo Day is here for you. Together, let's create a world where young minds flourish, ideas come to life, and innovation knows no boundaries. Join us for an unforgettable journey of learning, growth, and discovery. Welcome to Demo Day.
Hello, my name is Chloe, and today I will be presenting my project on the 5 most common types of meditating. Okay, first, how do you meditate? So you can meditate wherever you want, from laying in bed, sitting in a chair. However, the optimal position is the classic meditation position, sitting on the floor, back straight, legs crossed. Lying in bed may make you fall asleep, and sitting in a chair in the exact same position may be uncomfortable after a while. The sitting on the floor position keeps you awake, not is also reasonably comfortable. Then the first thing to keep in mind when meditating is your feet. Well, seasoned meditators will preach about the importance of keeping your feet on top of each other. However, for the majority of people who are beginners, it is perfectly fine to crisscross on top of each other like a pencil. Your arms are resting on your thighs, your hands rest on top of each other and form a cup. Your thumbs can touch, it's up to you. What's important is that your arms feel relaxed, your back is straight, and your head is completely level. It's not tilted upwards or downwards. As for your eyes, it's easier to close them when you are starting out to help you focus. If you keep them open, try not to focus on any object, just stare into the distance. Then, how long should you meditate before you start a meditation session? You'll want to set an alarm. This is because time tends to seem a little bit slow to you when you are first starting out. Having an alarm prevents you from constantly wondering how much time is left in the session. It also helps you from being late if you have something scheduled right after the session. 5 minutes on the clock is a good time for your first session. When you get more used to the meditation posture and the meditation itself, you can increase the amount of time you have in your session. Then what should you do during meditation? This question is a little tricky considering that it goes into very abstract territory. There are hundreds, maybe even thousands of kinds of meditation, which are listed below, and then each one has a different way of meditating. And then next, how often should you meditate? To really start seeing the benefits of meditation ASAP, it's better to meditate on a daily basis as long as you have a routine. For example, 10 minutes when you wake up, 10 minutes right before you go to bed. The benefits of meditation should start to emerge. And then the last question is, when will you start seeing the benefits? It really depends on 3 things. Number 1, frequency is very important. Number 2, how long it takes to become a habit. And number 3, it differs from person to person. You never really know. And then the actual part of the article, which is the types of meditation that I have listed below. There's, like I said earlier, there are actually lots and lots of kinds of meditation. Number 1, mindfulness breathing meditation. This is where you focus on the sensation of breathing, the air coming out in your nose and out of your mouth. Whenever a thought comes into your head, you simply notice it and let it float away. Some people say in and out in their heads while doing this exercise, but you don't necessarily have to. This meditation you might be the most familiar with. This type also is scientifically shown to increase creativity. This kind of meditation also trains you to let go of negative thoughts. So it has a lot of benefits, and that's probably why it's the most popular type of meditation. Number 2 is moving meditation. Moving meditation is done when you are completely focused on making some sort of movement, such as dancing or even washing dishes. While you move, you focus on the physical changes, and sensations that occur. For example, if you chose to practice moving meditation while walking, your focus would be on the feeling of your feet touching the ground and pushing off, and so on. This can, however, become a double-edged sword because moving often makes it easier to forget your goal is to meditate. It is much, much harder to get into a deep meditative state while you are moving because it's a form of multitasking. And I don't know about you, but I'm not very good at multitasking. One of the benefits of this type of meditation is that it also teaches you how to enter the flow state, which is essentially a total concentration on an activity that you enjoy, which results in losing losing your self-consciousness and your sense of time. This is because this type forces you to be creative and present at the same time, and because you have to decide which movement to do next. And this doesn't happen with any other type. This is a great meditation if you have a hard time sitting still or feel too jittery, but I still wouldn't really recommend it, even though I am technically recommending it in this article. Number 3 is guided meditation. This might be my favorite meditation, and it is basically any type of meditation where someone else, say your best friend, is guiding you through the meditation process, and you simply follow your friend's instructions. The meditations can vary greatly, but this is one of the easiest meditations to do, probably why it's my favorite, and it's mostly because of not having to deal with absolute complete silence and the doubts some people have when practicing meditation by themselves. However, having someone talking constantly while you meditate may prevent you from digging deeper inside of yourself, where many of the benefits and realizations lie, which is sort of the point of meditation. This type of meditation is best suited for people who have tried other types and felt that they were a little too hard. Number 4 is mantra meditation, and this is a very special type of meditation where you focus on repeating a phrase or series of words over and over. You can honestly choose whatever mantra you want. Just keep in mind that the best mantras are positively phrased. This type of meditation is especially for anyone who feels like they have a certain belief that is holding them back. And I think that's probably the most helpful meditation, actually, other than the first meditation. And then last meditation is virtual reality meditation. I don't technically consider this to be a meditation, but technically it is considered a meditation. Virtual reality uses a VR headset to make the person feel like they're in a different place, such as transposing yourself to a mountaintop, a beach, a forest, or whatever makes you the most calm. It's very immersive and affects most senses instead of just one like the other types of meditation. This is especially for people who've tried other types of meditation and found that they don't work or keep getting distracted. So, in conclusion, meditation is a complex subject, and there are many different types of it. But if you have enough patience, you can reap the benefits of the meditation that you chose. Happy meditating, and thank you for listening to my presentation.
Can I go first?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. So, first of all, tackling a subject like meditation is very difficult because it's so complex, and it's like, what is meditation? Like, what is actually fundamentally meditation and all that kind of stuff? That's really hard to do. So I applaud you for trying to for doing that and diving deep into that subject with your article. I think I have a few suggestions. So one is that maybe you can like, I didn't really find like a actual like definition, like where
Yeah,
maybe
I
it's
have
like,
this little thing at the very beginning of the article, which is basically a quick Google search I made for the definition of meditation, but I was actually thinking I should edit that and
yeah, because
elaborate.
it's like you were talking about in the article, like in the article, you weren't actually saying it, but in the presentation, you were saying like, oh, I found like virtual virtual reality meditation. Is that really like a meditation? I don't really consider that. And then it's like, I don't find this one a very helpful form of meditation, but it's also like, what are you actually trying to accomplish by meditating? And so it's like writing in your
Yeah,
diary and reflecting meditation.
I think when I originally created the article, I was thinking more about the different types of meditation and less than meditation was, what meditation actually was.
I do think
Because
Isla's
that's
point is helpful though, because if you're thinking about what are the different types of meditation, then you probably want to know what actually qualifies as meditation, so that you
yes,
can even start to write
and
your
some
article.
people like me might look at moving meditation or virtual reality meditation and think, is that really meditation? I don't think it counts as meditation.
Yeah. Also, because it's like, I actually find this really helpful, and I really want to dive deep into this because I am actually planning to make a video for my YouTube channel on me trying out the different types of meditation and reflecting on it. And I actually consider writing in my diary a form of meditation, but it's like, is that really meditation, or is it like, usually when people think of meditation, they think of sitting down and focusing on your breathing, right? That's
Yeah,
kind
they
of
think of
the classic stereotype. Yeah, exactly. They think of that. So I think it isn't the specific subject, but is definitely highly related. So that would be my first suggestion. And that kind of embodies all my other suggestions, because there's a bit of confusion around there because it's a really complex topic. Um, Also, my one other suggestion is that you say in the title the 5 most common types of meditating. So it's a
Yeah,
little
it's
bit
kind of.
off. Yeah, the grammar isn't. So it's either the 5 most common types of meditation or the 5 most common ways to meditate. So might be a little suggestion there. But other than that, I think you did a great job of making the presentation engaging as well as the article very interesting. So good job.
Thank you.
I put 5 definitions that ChatGPT 4 spit out in the Chloe's fun room.
I actually looked it up, and I think one of the definitions I saw was the act of, wait, let me see. The act to engage in contemplation or reflection.
Hmm.
Hmm.
I think the ChatGPT
I
one might be
think
better.
that meditation is anything that can help you relax, and that can give you deeper answers about
For me, I think that maybe a good definition would be um improving or refining your awareness of your thoughts and your mind. Your awareness and your control
Ah,
of the thoughts
yeah.
and emotions and state of your mind. So, because
That's a good one.
I think all of those kind of help with that. Because also one thing when you're talking about moving meditation, I remember our mom is very into yoga. And I remember somebody was trying to convince us, we were at a friend's house and they were like, "Oh, you should try yoga. It's like meditation and you because you're like very aware of your movements." And I'm like, "Why can't I just like do taekwondo or some other form of exercise and basically meditate while doing that? Is there something
So
specifically about yoga then that I have to do that with, or can I do it with something else?"
yoga is more like a flow and it's more slowed down, whereas other sports may be more quick, and so it's a lot harder to stay with it with your mind and actually meditate and be aware of each little moment and
I would
move.
actually, in some ways, I would disagree with that because yoga, because it's very slow, I can have my mind wandering about. But when I'm doing taekwondo and I'm doing a 9 count kick, I have to I have to be on one foot for like a minute. You have to be that much more focused and you have to like have your brain focused on it or else you're going to lose your balance. Like you have to be much
Okay,
more focused.
so
But this is kind of a side. I don't think we need to go into this
Well,
conversation
no,
right
I
now.
think it's
yeah,
good because these are
yeah, okay.
different things.
Yeah.
So one thing is that there are very advanced yoga that stretches me in different ways and even more, and it's even more advanced than some of the taekwondo stuff, just in different ways. And
Okay, I would agree advanced yoga is different.
okay. And a lot of the things we do, like walking, for example, we do that subconsciously, right? We don't actively make the decision to move one toe and then the next toe and then the next toe, right? We don't do that. And so, like, yoga is, it might be like you can have your mind wandering, but then that's not really meditation. With yoga, you're being aware of every movement. You're trying to appreciate the moment. At least that's how I see it. And in that way, it takes a lot of engagement and you can't really have your mind wander with that.
So a couple things. One, I wrote a project about meditation many, many years ago. Um, when I first got into it. And one of the points that I read about was really understanding that the goal, like what is the goal? So this is what I wrote in this reflection. Meditation teaches us to control our thoughts, and in doing so, control how we react to the world around us. So that's one point. And then another definition from ChatGPT that I like is the second one: the process of quieting the mind to achieve a state of relaxation and heightened awareness. So I think the key word here is awareness. And what I mean by that is that, like the way I was describing this to Isla yesterday, we were talking, meditation came up in our discussion, was like we have a certain way of when something changes about the world, or something, we're confronted with something like Isla. If mommy tells Isla that she got a new dog client, then she reacts to this by, well, I guessed it and she said I was spot on, but she has like a heightened level of anxiety a little bit because it's like, oh boy, I've got this thing to do, but also like a heightened level of excitement because it's like, oh, I have another client. It'll be fun. I can meet this dog. But simultaneously responding to those two things, right?
Different thoughts, different concepts,
Right.
different emotions.
But in the process of doing that, she takes the reality, the change in the world, which is I have another dog client, and then her mind maps that reality, that fact, to how she's supposed to feel about it, right? If you see a tree, or if you see an old friend, or if you see a cookie, or whatever, then your brain is then mapping that reality, that objective reality, to an emotion, and that emotion causes motion, right? It's the same root word, motion. That's where our emotion comes from. If you didn't have emotions, you wouldn't have motion. But the brain has this map built into it that's constantly mapping your observation of reality and telling you how to feel about it. The problem with that is that sometimes we don't know where those feelings came from, right? We're not even necessarily aware of it, right? You're labeling things. You're labeling the world around you all the time. And so meditation, I think, helps to create awareness around that thought process so that you see the thought process as opposed to just being controlled by it. And in the process of that, you're actually growing your free will, your ability to decide how you want to react to that observation of the world. So in a word, that would be awareness, but the more awareness you have, the more control you actually have too over how you react to the world around you. So I think that like one goal of this is that it creates an increase in free will, your ability to decide how you respond to the world. So that's my 2 cents on meditation.
Yeah, that kind of reminds something that my mom actually taught me a few days ago. And she called it very vaguely the model. But I think it's also kind of a type of meditation, because first, like you have a circumstance that's like the first step of the model. Like, say you have a free time basket. Yay! You have a thought about that circumstance. Yay, I have a free time basket. And then you have an emotion about that thought, like maybe happiness. And that the emotion, happiness, leads to action, which could be a multitude of things, but then the action leads to a result, and it kind of sometimes it even goes in the kind of virtuous cycle, but it can also be a vicious cycle, because you can have a not so great circumstance which leads to a bad thought, which leads to a bad emotion, which leads to bad, always quotation marks, but bad actions, which leads to a bad result. And then
Your mom and I are talking about the same model.
Also, yeah, I think it's like that is related to like I keep bringing up diary, right? That's kind of how I meditate. I don't, whenever I try and sit down and think about my thoughts, I'm so distracted that I can't even most of the time focus on one YouTube video. So trying to sit down and think about like I can do it, but it's really hard. Like it's really hard. Well, meditation's supposed to be hard, but I feel like a more refined version is diary. So it's a little bit different though. You're not thinking through the reactions and thoughts you're having in that moment. And you're not doing that, but you're reflecting on the reactions and the thoughts you had before. And you're structuring it and you're defining it and putting a meaning to it by looking back and saying, what did I actually get from this? How do I feel about this experience? And basically just structuring your thoughts from the past. And so I feel like that's kind of related because you're still trying to have awareness, but it's a little bit different.
Yeah, that seems like a different concept, right?
Yeah, that's a
So,
different concept, but it's related.
oh well, we're talking about having increased control and awareness of the thought of our own thought process,
One
right?
thing that I learned that was really interesting about meditation from the Almanac of Naval Ravikant is he was talking about the kind of the mind body connection in terms of like the subconscious systems of your body and your conscious systems, like the things that you do intentionally versus things like walking and breathing and like just having your heart beating. You're not like intentionally doing that, it's just happening. But breathing is one of those things that's kind of in the gray area in between, where you do it unconsciously, but you can intentionally change your breathing patterns. And because of that, it creates a connection between the subconscious parts of your, like, kind of your body, as well as the conscious systems. And so by intentionally changing your breathing patterns to kind of slow, it actually then triggers the rest of your subconscious systems, like your heart rate to slow and like your cortisol to go down, and these things that will just make you less stressed and more relaxed.
Yeah, when I think about the definition of meditation specifically, that seems to be more related to what you're talking about, of trying to make unconscious thought processes, such as the labeling of objective reality, like the basket, and then having that labeling translate into an emotion, which then causes motion. That's oftentimes a subconscious mechanism, right? Right? Like, so you're not thinking, ooh, fun basket time, or oh, hey, it's the focus friend time, I get to hang out with Chloe, right? And it's like you're not being like, oh yes, I am going to respond now mentally and feel happy about focus friend time. Like, it's just happening. It's triggering subconsciously. So becoming aware of the subconscious process, like breathing, that seems fundamentally different to me than, oh, I've had all these thoughts during the day and I want to try to structure them. I want to structure my thinking by writing them down. That's focusing thoughts rather than trying to, I think, make subconscious processes conscious processes.
Although sometimes when you're doing it, you might be trying to discern like why you felt a certain way or why you reacted in a certain way, and try to back out your subconscious responses.
You're trying to structure your
I
thoughts.
think it depends on what you actually write in your diary. I mean, some people might be like, so we went to the grocery store today, and like that's not really.
I think I should come up with a new form of diary writing. Because what I do is I will go through like something that happened. And then I will talk about how I feel about it. And sometimes I'll talk about things I feel and try and figure out why I felt them. Or sometimes I'll have these thoughts and I'll work through it and be like, okay, I'm not actually dreading this. There are some things I'm worried about. So it's like, hey, Chloe, you don't need to raise your hand.
Yeah, but there's also the difference between physical diaries and online diaries. Like online diaries, you can like update what happened, you can talk about what happened, but there are some things you don't want to put in online diaries because other people might be looking at them. And that's where an actual physical diary can be helpful, as long as like everyone in the household is promised not to look at your diary and stuff like that. You can just write it down without any worry of anyone seeing it. Because I have like an online journal and then a physical journal. I haven't actually written in my physical journal for a while, but it might be good to do that.
Yeah, well, I have a Google Doc and I changed the password to my Gmail so that none of you can go sneaky peeky. But so I guess well, it's not like I'm blasting out my thoughts to the whole wide world. So I guess it depends on what kind of diary you're doing, what kind of
Yeah,
online.
but I still think it's good to have like a physical diary because you can blast her thoughts right into your diary, you know?
Sometimes the process, for some people, the process of writing with a pencil or a pen is more soothing and relaxing.
Although if you're really fast at typing, you can basically do stream of consciousness
Yeah,
onto a page. And if
that's what I'm trying to
you
do.
can then observe your thoughts in a way that you can't in your own head. Like you can't just read your thoughts again and like see what you were actually thinking.
Exactly. Yeah. So if I could write on paper as fast as I could type, I would totally do it on a book or on a notepad. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to work through things with myself. And it's kind of hard to do that if I'm like spending all this time trying to write all the lines and stuff instead of just like one click. So I have a dad who writes so much, and I grew up in that environment. And so now writing is a lot faster than, typing is a lot faster than writing for me. So I don't know. It's just my preference.
So getting to this concept of what is meditation versus like structured thinking, I think one way to think about it is like if you have a diary where you're trying to think through your emotions and your thoughts, I feel like that's a conscious effort to try to figure out what's the correct label, right? So like, let's say if Sume says, oh, I'm on a 650-day streak, right? And anybody else on Duolingo probably has a lower streak. Or one of these days, Sumi's going to run into somebody that's like, well, I'm actually at 2,000.
No,
Sumi,
there are people.
Let's just say that Sumi runs into that. She's like, oh, yeah, 650. And she puts that out on Twitter. And then somebody's like, check this out. Screenshot. And it's like 5,000 day streak, right? And she might have a reaction to that. That's like, oh, right? So she'll have some label onto that. She'll have a subconscious process that causes that. Maybe she goes to her diary later and she's like, what happened in my mind to this? And she might like write out and think, well, how can I change my automated response to be just excited to meet anybody on Duolingo that's learning a foreign language and not have like a competitive kind of reaction? I'm not saying you do this. It's an example.
Yeah, I know.
So that process of trying to consciously change one's labeling, change one's mapping, is separate from the mechanism of trying to be aware of one's mapping. I feel like meditation helps to enhance awareness of that mapping, whereas diaries and kind of like that conscious effort to try to evaluate yourself is actually trying to shift and rewrite, rewire the mapping. So maybe that's a way to think about the dichotomy here.
Structure
How
the
they're
mapping.
different.
Structure the thoughts and stuff and emotions.
Like map engineering, paradigm shifts.
I have a question for Chloe. So when you start meditation, what type of meditation was easiest for you to do?
I think
Well, I usually just did different versions of the mindfulness breathing meditation and guided meditation.
Guided meditation.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love guided meditation actually.
Do you have a favorite teacher who guides you meditation?
Not really. I mean, mom got things off her phones. I don't exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Mommy likes guided meditations.
Yeah, Sumi and I tried a guided meditation a while back.
It was on
But
the
now
app Headspace.
yeah, Headspace was really good. Now I found like walking meditation has been really, really amazing for me. It's just really easy to do.
One cool thing about the definition, if you nail down the definition of meditation, then you can start to abstract away from what people say is the way to meditate and start to recognize that there are all kinds of different ways you could meditate that would still fit that definition. So I'll give you an example. Like some of these yogis that are super into this for a long time say that one goal is to be able to meditate in every action. So what does that mean? I think that part of that is like to be able to go about doing things in your life without having that constant, it's monotonous of the brain constantly reacting and labeling things, and to become so aware of it in every action that you can tone that way down and just be, and not feel like you need to constantly label and have an emotional reaction to the things that happen day to day in every moment, every little interaction. I do think that that's a great goal.
yeah, what I'm trying to work it on is not necessarily lowering it. Well, this does sort of like limit that a bit. But being aware of it so that sometimes if I need to look back or if I have a thought that I don't like, that, or if I have a bunch of emotions that just like it's just responses, that I can be aware of it and I can understand it so that it makes it easier to have a better mindset and a more wholesome and good mindset for me if I can be aware of the emotions I feel sometimes if I feel a certain emotion, and then I can try and change it, sort of.
Yeah, I totally agree with
I can actually try and change it. And so, or I can like lessen it. But that's what I'm trying to work on.
You are not your thoughts.
Yeah.
You are not your emotional responses. The more you meditate, the more you become aware of that mechanism. And the fact that you're aware of it means that you're standing apart from it and looking at it. So it's a reminder that you are just you and not that voice, that monotonous voice.
Really? Like what really is you? Is it your thought? Is you your thoughts? Is you your memories? Like what really defines you?
People have been trying to figure that out for thousands of years, Chloe.
You I think my version is your your perception. That's what you are. You pretty much are perception.
Well, I think it's a
You're-
combination of, well, at least mentally. Physically, you're bits of genetic structure, but I think it's a combination of perception, thoughts, and memories.
See, but perception is both thoughts and memories, because what are you going to
What about
remember?
your actions?
Memories.
Yeah, but how people perceive your actions. You can do things that you don't even think is like a big deal, or you perceive it completely different from someone else. And what really matters then? What really matters? The actual real action, like fundamentally what actually happened, or how people perceive it, how you perceive it.
Hang on. So memories are the past, but both perception and thoughts are the future. Sorry, not the future, the present. So what's the future? Like, what's the future part of you?
What is
Well,
the
you get
No, I
this.
get that. I think that's it's a deep question, but I think I understand. So like, let's say that imagine that who you are is you're this person in this little boat that's in this great ocean of space and time and reality, okay? And the currents in the water are all kinds of things. It could be the struggles that maybe you were born in India instead of the United States. Maybe you were born with parents that can help you discover meditation, maybe not. There's just like all these different things that everybody's experiencing in life, and that's like all these different currents that are pushing you this way and that, right? But you have this little paddle, and the size of that paddle is your free will, right? And if you start out, you don't know a lot about meditation, and it's really, really hard for you to really avoid grabbing that cookie and eating it, or sticking with exercise, or doing the things that you want to do, then that paddle is like really small, right? But if you're out there and you're trying, then your muscles get bigger, right? And maybe the paddle just grows in this metaphor, right? As the more you exercise that free will, become more aware of this, try to structure it in your diary and so on and so forth. And so your paddle gets bigger and bigger, and you're going. And so maybe you are the trajectory of your little boat relative to what you would have been if you were just letting the currents just take you, and you have no control, and you're just letting it all happen. It's your willingness to exercise free will to try to drive your little boat and create meaning in your life by doing the things you want to do through action. But it can't just be where your boat goes, because there's a lot of things in life outside your control. That's that current, maybe.
I agree.
Yeah, but my question's more like, okay, so memories are the past. Thoughts and perception are the present. But then what is the future? You can't just decide. You don't decide. Like, I mean, technically, yes, you can decide what happens in the future. Like, I want to become an investor, so I'm going to become an investor. But like, what occupies the future the same way that thoughts and perception occupies the present and memories occupy the past?
I think given my dad's definition, it would be the trajectory that you're planning on going to, but obviously the future will show you.
Well, okay, so
Thoughts
the
and perception
trajectory of your life.
Thoughts and perception are both past, present, and future. Thoughts and perception, how are you going? Your memories are thoughts and perception.
Yeah,
You
but
can't
perception
go
is
through
what you're
life.
perceiving in the moment, and then thoughts are what you're thinking in the moment. So that's kind of how I'm looking at you. Technically, everything is past, present, and future. I mean, you're developing memories in the present. You're going to develop memories in the future. Like, they're all past and present and future. But like, when you put them in certain categories, it makes sense that thought and perception go in the present instead of the past or the future.
Okay, so perception is how you see the world.
Yeah.
Perception, and that perception consists of emotions, and emotions is what creates memories. And memories are what the past is, right? And that's how, like, your perception is consisted of is labels that have developed from emotions. It's also
Perception is also inherently in your memories, because
Memories are part of perception.
yeah, memories are a big part of perception. Because where else are you going to build your perception from? It's not like there's some other thing that you're getting.
There is another thing though. So there's memories. Well, like when I think about who I am, fundamentally, I think that who I am are my values. And my values are how I take my memories and then decide in every action, every moment, what I'm going to do next and where I'm going to paddle. So for me, I think of values as like, how do I shape that? All my memories is like all my data. But then it's like, what do I do with all this data? I got to do something. And I can't do everything because there's some things I can't control. But I can control how my values shape my actions within my circle of influence. So that feels to me like the essence of who I am, basically. Because I can choose my values. I can't choose how tall I am. Can't be an NBA basketball player yet, but I can choose my values. Okay, Chloe, sorry.
Chloe wants to say something.
I gathered.
Guessing. Yeah.
So I think that it's a combination of values and beliefs, because I say I value hard work, but your values don't necessarily need to be your beliefs. So I think it's a combination of values, beliefs.
What's the distinction between
Memories and perception, actually? Because thought is just generating off of who you are. Because, like, if you had never worked hard in your life and you saw someone hard at work, then you would have been like, why are they hard at work? But if you have worked hard all your life, then you would think, oh wow, I really appreciate that person. Maybe I should go help them, like give them some encouragement, like that kind of stuff. So it's like a combination of memories, perception, values, and beliefs.
I agree with that. I think that I think that beliefs and values are, because beliefs, so you can form, let's say that you don't have, ignore values for a second, you can have all these memories, but then from these memories, you still have to turn that into a map of reality. And that requires making some assumptions, some guesswork. That's, well, I was going to get to perception, but beliefs would then be how you take all that data and form a map of your reality, which has to involve beliefs, because you don't know everything. You've had your experiences, but you haven't experienced everything and know everything. So you have to have beliefs.
Yeah, because like.
But then the value goes on top. The values is like
value.
totally. I mean,
I value honesty because I believe that will pay off in the long term. Like that, it's based off of
beliefs is what you believe is important in life. It's like meaning of life, basically, stuff, right?
Yeah.
Well,
but values is like what you value in the world.
Yeah, what's important.
Like what you care about, what you treasure.
I still make the argument that that's all part of perception.
I think perception.
Why? I guess beliefs are kind of part of perception. That's okay, that's a kind of part of perception, but not quite. You know, I mean,
yeah.
I think they should just
a little bit overlap.
Still be considered as separate things.
Maybe
so perception. So perception. so perception is like this. You go through life, you have all these memories, but Isla and Sume have had a lot of shared memories, but they may have very different memories, even though they did the same things, because they have different perception. Perception is like these glasses you wear that
you
kind
have
of like shape how you
then
see things in real time, isn't it? Right? And you can have the same values, but have totally different perceptions because maybe you have different personality types, you know, or you've had different, even your different memories can lead to different kinds of perceptions, but you can have the same values. Like I have the same values, I think, as my wife. We talk about things all the time. We're like kind of figure out what's the same thing that's important, but we have totally different perceptions, which lead to totally different ways. We remember the past. And it's like, wait, you remember it like that? I thought that vacation was awesome. Sorry.
Yeah, I know Chloe very well, so I can, tell when she's having some emotions, and so I can you might want to say
please,
something
let me talk.
right now. I mean, not like she's making it super obvious or anything.
You have a very good perception, Isla.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, so I think that okay, values and beliefs, I still believe they should be in perception. I think they should all be considered separate values, but if you consider them values and beliefs as part of perception, memories is the building blocks of ourselves, but then our perception can warp them and change them and solidify them.
Yeah.
And then that solidified, changed version of our memories.
And your
Those
perception
memories are really like
The
when I
building
think
blocks of self.
yeah, when
I
I
don't
think
know
when
about
I
that.
think about my identity, I associate very little of it with my memories because I feel like I'm a very, very different person than I was before. And
okay,
so
but where
How you come to be,
How you-
that's your story.
I
That's
get
like
that
the
that
memories
I get
plus
that
perceptions.
Wait. One at a time. Let's see me finish your thought and then come on over here and share.
I get that what you've done in the past definitely contributes to who you are now, but I think when you're thinking about who you are now, that isn't necessarily what I would say is like the building blocks of my identity.
all right, so
but like it's mostly like perceptions, like Isla said, because it's like values and beliefs are part of perception, and that's really who makes us who we are.
All right, Loud
okay.
Zalulu.
Can I make one point
well,
first?
Loud Zalulu had a point that she was sharing a second. Go ahead, finish it.
I was just following up what Chloe was saying. I think like your perception of your memory tells your story, and a lot, I just like how you want to tell your story will help you a lot with how you approach your life. Like change your story, change your life.
But the story of your journey isn't who you are. That's Sume's point. Who you are.
But
it's a combination of memories, which is basically the past you, and then that's changed by your perception. I think that creates the person you. Am I?
Nicole, can you just tell us the answer, okay? 50 minutes.
Wait. Can I make one point first?
All right, but then Nicole needs to tell us before we're done.
Yeah.
Because I want to know.
Okay, first of
my
all,
mom's the smartest person ever.
let's ask the question, what do we have that's more than memories and perception? Like fundamentally
values.
Yeah, but
but that's part of perception.
Where do values come from? It comes from how you perceive your memories. And perception fundamentally comes from memories itself. When you're a baby,
why would it come from your memories?
That's just my raw data. What I decide to do with that data is up to me.
Yeah, it's raw data of your life, and then your perception I get it. I get what you're
Memory.
saying, because your memories created your perception of the world, but then your perception changes your memories. So it's kind of confusing there. It's like a loop.
But where's free will in that? So I just
Yeah.
have a bunch of memories, and that is like determining who I am and how I
Yeah,
perceive
your
my life and
perception.
control.
That's
No,
your
that is
perception.
I'm a
not
free
what
man. Do what
that
I
is
want.
not Daddy, Daddy, that is not what's controlling you. That's
Stop.
the building block.
I said stop.
Sorry.
Chloe,
Stop. No
Chloe,
talking.
It's her demo. She can yell.
Oh my goodness.
Wants to yell if she. Oh.
Oh, wow.
Oh no. Well, all right. So Nicole, let us know. What's the correct answer on the meaning of life and who we are?
Yeah, I don't know.
What?
I don't have any answers. No, I don't have any answers. The
Okay.
most interesting thing I've heard in the past is somebody who characterized what a belief is. And they said a belief is just a thought that you keep thinking over and over again.
Is it calm down? Is it calm down right now? Okay.
Sorry, I got excited.
can I make one point?
Okay. Isla, you go next. Then Cho. And then whoever wants to say one more thing, tell me. Okay. Do not shout over yourselves like a bunch of arguing chimpanzees, okay? Okay, Isla, what do you have to say?
All right, so I'm not saying your memories define who you are. Far from it. I'm saying they are the fundamental building blocks of who you become. Because what else do you have other than your memories, your experiences, and how you perceive those experiences and your memories?
Exactly.
Values, but your values, where do your values come from? They come from how you perceive your memories. They come from how you take those emotions and what you do with them. And because what else do you have? What else do you have other than your memories and perceptions?
There's an
I was supposed to
abstract-
go next, according to
Okay,
Chloe.
sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
So if
Cho
I were a
and Sinead.
squirrel, then I would agree with you. And I'd have a history of winter and summer and seeing nuts and seeing cats, and that was helping
Dogs.
shape me. And I'd have a whole bunch of pre-wired programming, and you'd be able to perfectly predict where I'd row my little boat through the consciousness of time as a squirrel, based purely on that pre-wired programming and the history of my experiences. But I have free will, which means that I have the ability to look at my life experiences and have influence and decide between the stimulus of any given moment in my perception and how I decide to respond, because I have the ability to imagine and the ability to create in my own mind alternative ways in which I could respond.
I also dislike the term memory because it implies that it's something that you've experienced. What about things that you just learn about? I learned about some concept from this book. Is that a memory? Or is that a concept that I've learned about? Like what I don't like the term memory because I feel like it's just kind of, it implies that it's some experience that you had. And I think that there's a lot more that can happen.
Okay, so here, let me explain what I mean by memory, because I don't think you guys are getting what I mean by memory. So take learning something, for example. Your memory is of what you learned. That is a memory. That's what I mean by memory. And you learning it, you having that aha moment, that is a memory. You maybe you forget it, but you will have that memory at least for some time of having that aha moment and how you were like, wow, that's so cool. Right?
There's the memory of learning about something and then actually have learned it.
So the science around memory is way less complicated than everything else we're talking about.
Okay, can I just explain what I mean by memory?
Yeah,
Because
okay, so this is how it's gonna work.
Chloe,
This
because
is how it's gonna work. Isla's going to say something, and if anyone has a reply,
We also need to
tell me.
You might
Tell
not be able to
me.
figure out the meaning of life and all of existence and the nature of reality and the definition of the mind and values and all that in the next like 2 minutes.
For this.
Hard.
We might need one.
Okay, if anyone has a reply to what Isla said, they can say it in an orderly, calm way after she finishes speaking. Okay, Isla, go.
it's okay, we can close it up.
Here, Chloe, how about you tell us, you give the conclusion, tell us like your big takeaway, because we're gonna take this was really fun, by the way. We recorded this is gonna be awesome. Do you want to share to future viewers, your future self 50 years from now, and you're sharing this with your grandkids, like what you want the big takeaway to be from this discussion? What was the most powerful, important thing you want to take away from this? Besides being right about values.
Partly that the basic essence of who you are is your memories warped by your perception, which creates your develops your perception, which continues to warp your memories, and it's a cycle. And then the second thing is that even though that's kind of the basis of who you are, you don't actually know. No one actually knows who you are. It's like a combination of things. Like you can't define a personality. No matter whoever Myers-Briggs thinks they are. You cannot define a personality. You cannot define another person. It's just too complex.
That's a good answer. Round of applause. Looking forward to next week.
I agree with that.
Me too.
Somebody to your learning pod. There's a bunch of friends here that have been popping in here. I think we're at like 800 registered users. Every single time you publish a project too, it goes out to all of them. Most of them are in like private secret learning pods, but if you put out something about focus friends, I'll bet you'd get some people that would be interested in checking it out. Whatever you want to do. How's the dog?
Sure. Oh, Telly, she's doing great. She's a little spastic this morning. Correction, a lot spastic, but she was sleeping earlier, and I don't know. My dad took her, so
Next time,
Also-
I'm going to bring the dog. I think we're getting ready for dinner here, Isla. Did you have something quick?
Oh. I just wondered if I could stay on the call or no.
Oh yeah, you can stop.